had a nice break, and welcome back to the end of the world.
Shalom. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High. Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Ba'asham Rakakwadash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of the Great Millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Kiam. And this is your brother Abawan back again with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Ba'asham Rakakwadash. All praises and glory is due, welcoming you back, even though you didn't go anywhere, to the end of the world. That's probably what I'll title the video. Welcome back to the end of the world, right? Because this is a wake-up call for you two-thirds, you Babylonians that are in the world, that said unto yourself, right? Basically, you have that foolish notion and you believe that none of these things that the men of the Lord and the Bible was prophesying that would happen on the earth would happen. And now you can clearly see, right, that every single prophecy, it did not just stop, okay? It has been continuing in the background, and now you can see that it's escalating in real time. The scriptures jumping out of the pages, and now you see that America, Babylon the Great, is in full-blown war, right? Missiles firing, okay, rockets blowing, soldiers are already dying, boots are already on the ground, everything is going the exact way prophecy dictated that it would, and the scriptures dictated that it would, right? So welcome once again to the end of the world. And of course, this is something that we, the men of the Lord, starting from the elder apostles on down, have been warning our people that this is the time that we're in. And now you can clearly see that the people of the world are beginning to realize that, yeah, this definitely is the time that we are in. So now, to fast forward to the main point of this video, the part that I actually wanted to do a video out of, right? And this is Professor Jiang, right? If you are in this truth, you should already know who this man is right here. He's always dropping this knowledge and giving insights into exactly what's going on in this kingdom. You can never have too much information. That's why the scriptures say, be not let's get that precept. I forgot how that precept goes. Be not ignorant of any matter, whether great or small. So let's get that. Be not ignorant of any matter, whether great or small. So that's right, not how that goes. Or is it in the Apocrypha? Let's just no, let me just try another way to say it. Be not ignorant of any matter, whether great or small. That's how it should go. So yeah, let me try the Apocrypha. it's probably in the Apocrypha, right? Well, it shouldn't be. I remember actually it should be in the New Testament. So let's just try it anyway. Okay, it is in the Apocrypha. So that's Ecclesiasticus 5 verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or small, right? And that's basically what like I said, going back to this, right? Of course, we have the 100% truth of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? But there is still information to be gotten from the world, specifically how exactly the prophecies are playing out, in real time in the world. We know what will happen. We know when the prophecies will come, and we know what prophecies will come. But the details as to how these things will play out, who will anger who, right? Who will be the one that will send bombs first on who will be the one that will escalate the matter, right? And I say who, I'm talking about the exact individuals, right? Because the scriptures that the Most High deals in nations. So America, Babylon the Great will be involved. Israel will be, of course, the least of the flock, drawing them out, right? Iran, Russia, China. Moab, which are the Chinese, right? Gog and Magog, which are the Russians, and of course, Persia, right? The Elamites, which are the Iranians. We know that they will be involved, but we don't know the exact, people, right? The individuals themselves that are doing all of this, and we don't know about, the scriptures don't talk about the bunker busters or tomahawk missiles, right? But it does tell you that there will be, missiles shot, right? And this is part of the beast system at work, right? The military. He caused fire to come down from heaven in the sight of men, right? Let's get that precept as well. That should be I believe that should be Revelation the 13th chapter. Let's get that. Let's get that. Says we can find our precept. Ah, here it is. Revelation 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And of course, we've already broken this down before many times that the two horns represent both sides of the political spectrum all over the world, right? So you have your quote unquote democracy. You usually have two major political parties, which are always the ones that are trading power between themselves. Like, for example, how you have the Democrats and the Republicans in the US, and this is specifically speaking of them. And of course, he's speaking as a dragon, is that both parties, right? It's just two sides of the same coin, and they are still pushing the same unrighteous decrees. That's why, regardless of who is in office, right? You will still, the primary goal is still to serve Israel. I even saw a quote from Kamala Harris that basically said she was basically condemning Iran as well, and talking about how, if that's the primary goal of the US is to defend Israel and defend Israel's right to defend itself. So even if she had won, she would still be sending these bombs on Iran and still be supporting the state of Israel. Okay. Now Revelation 13, verse 12. And he exercised the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them that which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And of course, the first beast refers to the Roman Empire, and that deadly beast was when the Roman Empire fell, until you had the Renaissance, and presently you have the revised Roman Empire, which is America, Babylon, the Great, NATO, and the EU. This is the revised Roman Empire that we're in. That's why you see that the same practices that you see in the Roman Empire is the same things that are done today. The democracy, quote unquote, is based off what existed in the Roman Empire, the Senate, the rule of law and different things like that. Basically, how the legal system and the system in general operates is the similar, right, an offshoot of the Roman Empire, which of course the Roman Empire and its operations was an offshoot of the Greek Empire, and the Greek Empire and its operations was an offshoot of the Egyptian Empire and the Babylonian Empire. So you see that all these attributes come together. That's why we say that America is Babylon, Egypt, and Rome all in one, and Sodom and Gomorrah, of course, because of that extra level of wickedness. Now, Revelation 13, verse 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Right now, of course, is your missiles, right? When fire comes down from heaven in the sight of men, of course, that's your missiles, your bunker busters, your Tomahawk missiles, your Patriot missiles, brought to you, of course, by Raytheon, right? Raytheon TM. And I've already gone into that before, actually, how you have these private military contractors, and how the US basically buys its weapons and buys weapons for the state of Israel as well, which is the reason why you see continuous war all over the earth, because as long as the missiles are being fired, as long as bunker busters and Tomahawk and cruise missiles and Patriot missiles are being used, Raytheon is making money, right? Look, as long as targets are being marked, companies like Lockheed Martin and Halliburton that provide logistics for war are making money, and that's really what what war in general is about. That's why you have the saying, all wars are banker wars. All wars are bankers' wars. Now, without further ado, let's let him say what he has to say, and this is actually what made me want to do this video right here.
To use nuclear weapons, okay? That's another big question that we have, okay? Now, another big question that we have is who gets involved? Because this situation is so dire.
Well, let me play that again. He said another big question that we have is who gets involved. And that's the main point right there. Let's play that.
Would you choose to use nuclear weapons? Okay, that's another big question that we have, okay? Now, another big question that we have is who gets involved? Because this situation is so dire that Europe, okay, specifically Germany, France, and Britain,
which are all parts of the seven heads, right? You have Germania Major, Germania Minor, Britain, um, yeah, which are all part of the seven heads, right? And now they're also going to get involved, and of course the ten horns as well. Basically, the founding nations for NATO and the EU. All right, let's keep playing.
We're talking about entering this war. And guess what? If that happens, it is possible that Russia and China will also enter this war on the side of the Iranians. This is World War III, okay? Because of the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, because of the importance of the Middle East.
Let's play that again. Let's play that again, right? So this is Bible prophecy you are seeing, right? And this is Bible prophecy that you are seeing, and even the people in the world are beginning to see that this is Bible prophecy coming in real time, because what he said was that the nations that will be involved are your major founding EU nations, your seven heads and ten horn nations versus Gog and Magog and Moab, Russia and China, all for the Middle East, right? The Strait of Tammuz, which is Tammuz, that's basically based off that I forgot exactly which nation worshipped Tammuz, but that's beside the point, right? All for the Middle East, all for the Strait of Tammuz, and eventually you are going to see all the nations gathered together in the Middle East in where the Valley of Jehoshaphat, right? So you can clearly see the basically things are moving prophetically for that setup, for the nations to eventually be gathered together, right, for World War III in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. So yeah, man, things are moving quickly right now. Okay, who knows what will come next, right? And from the way things are looking, this war is not likely to de-escalate like all the other times. It's looking like this might be the like I was saying, it's looking like this might be it. Okay, this might be the this might be it. This might be what kicks off everything. Kicks off the Jacob's Trouble, kicks off the MOTB, kicks off World War III, and eventually the return of our Lord Yahushua. All right. So we are seeing him, and this is all things that speaking about it, yeah, because these are major possibilities in this time, right? And this is of course once again prophetic events. So let's get those precepts, right? Because yeah, when you see the men of the Lord going into the book of Joel 3 and talking about the possibility of World War 3 and the nations gathering in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Jake is still out there talking about the Hebrew Israelites are, these are a bunch of bums just out there in highways and byways, just screaming at people and chatting about the white man being destroyed. While you are ignoring everything else that is coming out, right, from the men of the Lord, okay, you are clearly not seeing, because the Spirit is not dealing with you, the prophecy is coming to pass, right? Joel. So this is the book of Joel 3, and I'll start from verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right? Let's not forget the reason why the Most High is, gathering the nations for World War III, right? In order to judge the nations for their role in the destruction of our people. And let's also not forget another important precept, which is of course that all this is happening because of the nation of, it's like not the nation, but the state of Israel. Yeah, of course, it is happening for the nation of Israel. That's the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, right? But in specific, I'm speaking about the nations that are, about the U.S. basically getting into this war, because initially this is a war between Israel and Iran, right? But the U.S. directly involved itself and ultimately assassinated the supreme leader of Iran. So you can clearly see that the World War III is currently already in progress, right? Because now you have three nations involved in this war: the US, Israel, and Iran. And the question now is, which other nations will be involved in it as well? Will the UK, right? Will Europe, NATO, and the EU provide logistics and financial support the same way they did for is for when this Israel was bombing Gaza, the state of Israel was bombing Gaza, right? We will see, and yeah, you're going to see what comes next in these last days, man. And people are already murmuring about how China and Russia just basically watching what's going on, right? Like I said, we'll see what comes up in these last days. But we already know how this game goes and how basically this ends, right? And we can clearly see in this time the different possibilities and how the end times, right? The World War III, the prophecy of World War III, the prophecy of the nations being gathered together in the valley of Jehoshaphat will play out, because you already have people drawing maps of what nations are most likely to be involved in World War III, what regions are the most safe, in case of World War III. And these are all things that are already being discussed, because now more than ever, right? Even more than last year, we are drawing closer and closer to the end of this thing, man. Call Halaya Basham Yashai Basham Rakakwadash. Right? And amen. We are also getting to the time of the judgment of America, Babylon the Great, because you still have a lot of Babylonians that believe that they are safe up in their ivory tower, right? That they are safe in Babylon and nothing will be able to touch them, right? That's the folly of these Babylonians, and the scriptures even talk about that. I sit a queen and I'm no widow. Never will I know the death of children. Let's get that, right? Because you Babylonians seem to believe, right? You forget that, these nations, okay, which is Russia and China, they are still capable of sending sleeper agents against you, right? That time period where you had that whole border, I've forgotten that border, how that happened, right? Difficult to find. I sit a queen and I'm no widow. Right, here it is. Okay, no wait. Here it is, yeah. So this is the book of Revelation 18, verse. Let me start from the top. Revelation 18. No, let me go to the main point. Revelation 18, verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? That's basically how these Babylonians think. They think that they're going to be safe, as long as they're in Babylon from any effects of the wars, right? Because now, a lot of these Babylonians are celebrating because they think that they've destroyed Iran, they've won the war. Look at how easy it was for us to take out, the leader of Iran, right? But what you don't realize is that Iran is far from surrendering, and they are still deploying their missiles, right? They still have a leadership that's still, deploying these missiles, and this war, right, is far from over. So now Revelation 18, verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So, okay, I read that. Revelation 18, verse 18. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahweh of power who judgeth her. Right? Because the Most High has basically, right, I want to say he has left you for him, right? The Most High Yahweh Basham Yahweh is the one that is going to personally bring judgment upon you Babylonians, bring the final judgment basically, because let's not act like America, Babylon the Great isn't already being judged. And let's not act like America, Babylon the Great isn't, 2 seconds away from its own problems. You still have a lot of civil unrest going on, right? Just a lot of basically conflict in between the Babylonians, the Egyptian versus the Egyptian. And that is going to eventually bubble up to the point where, they shall stand up brother against brother, right, and father against son out there, right? You see these Babylonians going against each other, martial law, purge, the whole 9 yards, and that's coming, man. All these things are still part of Bible prophecy. All these things will still come to pass, and in these last days, Lord willing, we're out of here soon. So with that, I'll end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High. Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Ba'asham, Rakakwadash. Wa Abad Babalan through the Spirit of Yad Kam, and you are edified. Shalom.